prison in '76, and the racial tension was already there.
It was already there.
Yeah, and it's one thing I do know that back in the '60s, the Nation of Islam was one of the main defenders of the black community behind the prison wall. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones who brought unity to blacks, during that period. And a lot of blacks, they identified with that unity, but not necessarily the religious aspect of it. And then they created their own groups. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, you had, Nazis behind these prison walls. You had Nazi guards behind these prison walls, with just a high school diploma, you know what I'm saying, who was not respecting blacks. When WL and them was waging struggle against the system, they was not waging struggle because people that was necessarily part of their group. They was waging struggle behind the atrocities that was being committed against blacks behind prison walls. They had a brother, I think his name was Billingsley.
Yes.
The guards wanted to restrict cell structure from the cell, so they gassed him. They knew the man had asthma, bronchitis. They gassed him. In his cell. His brother died. You know what I'm saying? So brothers rebelled against stuff like that. And then you have, racist whites, who promote that type of activity, and they gain favors from the administration. The guards might tell them, hey, to the whites, we need this guy removed from this prison environment. And these whites would carry out the mission of these racist guards. But there were certain brothers behind the wall that was not accepting that. You know what I'm saying? So they were telling the brothers, hey, no, we need to unite. We need to stand up and confront our enemy. And that's what they did. They stood up and confronted their enemy. When WL was killed on the first day of him going to a group yard. And people got to realize when WL was killed and Sweet Jug Miller and Cleveland Evans was killed, the guard fired 4 shots. He fired 4 shots. And with 4 of them bullets, he killed 3 blacks. 1 bullet, he shot 1 white in the leg. Was there a weapon being used? No. It was a fist fight on the yard. So you got to realize that was by design. And at that time, WL had a case in the courts challenging the shoe conditions, challenging the hold. So once he was removed from that equation, the challenge to the hold was no longer existing as far as the court was concerned. But I'm saying, so people got to realize what the guards was doing to blacks who was trying to mobilize and organize the black community, to become more progressive and to gravitate away from the criminal gang mentality. The system did not support that. You know what I'm saying? If the system was supportive of rehabilitation, these are the type of individuals they wanted on the main line. You know what I'm saying? You don't want the so-called criminals on the main line. You want people out on the main lines, who's trying to change people and change people for the better. But the point is, that was not conducive to their program because the prison system is a racist program.
The sad part is that we still have loved ones that's locked in prison that's still being subjected to the same thing. In particular, I can name a few brothers like PJ, Yero. These brothers have been in the hole sometimes longer than I was in prison. And I stayed in there just this time, 38 years, 6 months. These brothers been in the hole that long. And the sad part is, PJ came in 1969, and I came in 1970. He's still there. Yeah. They're still using them same confidential documents to keep this brother locked down. He's getting ready to go to a hearing, and we're trying to get all of the letters together of support to help him at least have a fair hearing, if that's possible in CDC. Because I've sat in parole board and had parole board members, retired district attorneys, retired police captains that sat on the parole board tell me, you'll never get out of prison. Keep in mind, I shot a police officer in 1970. And the fact that this happened in 1970, you don't think my mentality has changed from 1970? Now I'm 70 years old. And they're still holding the same documents. And we have brothers that's sitting behind those walls. They're still going before these same parole boards, and they're being, you might just say it's all political now. It ain't even got nothing to do no more with the crime you committed in 1969 or 1970. It's about the politics. It's about your belief. It's about your participation in Black August. It's about you educating these young black men on the yard. It's about you sitting down, resolving some of these unnecessary conflicts with Mexicans and blacks. You know, and all of these things, like Russ said, this has a bearing on their job. You know, without us being in there, they have no job. So they continue to. It's like we struggle, they struggle too. But their struggle is to keep us in. It's not to get some of these young brothers out. It's to keep them in. And it's a daily struggle with them as well. Now I'm just going to speak on something you asked me about the courts. And just like the brother said, on that day when they killed WL and two other brothers, that was ruled justifiable homicide. And George's actions, where he was allegedly accused of killing the police, was a direct result of what happened on that day with that justifiable homicide. How can that, what they did, be considered justifiable homicide, and this what they accused this brother of doing? This is first-degree murder because it's a guard laying here bleeding. But over here you got three brothers laying here bleeding from head wounds, chest wounds. That's justifiable homicide. So I say, if that's justifiable homicide, then we got to look at the same thing. When we represent our people, it's just, I feel justified in anything that I do to represent my people.
That's right.
I think it's really important to remember. Brother Rochelle McGee came to prison in 1962 for a marijuana possession. 62, mind you. I was 12 years old. I'm 70 today. His brother's still in prison right now.
For marijuana possession.
Well, that's what he originally came for. The crime that they committed him for in Marin County. The evidence is very shaky, but the brother's still in prison today from 1962 on marijuana possession. The brother I told you about earlier, Paul Jones, he was there when I came in 1970. He's still there. I've been home twice. I came on a very serious crime the first time. I came back to prison several years later with a murder, did 38 years and got out, and this brother's still there on some shaky, flimsy evidence going before this parole board, and they ain't talking to him about he's a troublemaker. On the other hand, confidential sources said this, confidential sources said that. But these brothers are still being held to answer based on this type of documentation. It ain't even about evidence. These are fabrications of criminal conduct. There's no evidence of criminal conduct, but they're still going to board years later.
So yeah, that is something to remember. I did not know. I've been knowing about Rochelle McGee for a long time, and I didn't know that. And despite whatever happened afterwards, the fact is he was locked up for a crime that he should have never even been serving that amount of time. So anything that came out of afterwards is, they created that. You know what I mean? That's something that you call for locking him up unjustified. Anyway, what about you, brother? You want to touch on the elders, the importance of remember the ones that's, locked, the elders altogether, period, because we don't limit ourselves to specific.
When you're doing elders of my generation that are still behind the wall, a lot of them are just a little bit older than me. They're not much older than me, but they're just a little bit older than me. And I said earlier about when George said, "You never count me amongst the broken man," those are the elders that I respect. You know what I'm saying? The elders that I looked up to, because they have never deviated in their conviction. They never deviated within their belief. You know what I'm saying? They're still standing as men. They're still standing as principal man. And they're motivators of people whoever they come in contact with. You know what I'm saying? They're not generators of chaos. They're not generators of violence. You know what I'm saying? They're generators of trying to get people to stand up and to see things for what they is. Because, today there's a lot of gang members behind prison wall. And they try to get them youngsters out of that mentality. They share with them literature, they share with them history. They try to give them a sense of purpose. And a lot of these elders, who have stood firm all these years, they still respect it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of blacks gravitate to them, like say, we don't use the N-word. In no fashion we don't use the N-word. And these youngsters know we don't use the N-word. So when they're around us, they don't use the N-words. So it brings about change with them. We used to tell youngsters sometimes, like, try not saying N for 1 week. And a few of them came back after a week, and they said, you know what? Now I see how ugly that word is. Because when you part of it, you don't see it. But when you step back and start observing and being objective, you start seeing things a little bit more different. So the elders that behind the wall, they are not negative influences around the people. And a lot of the elders, they're respected by all races. Mm-hmm. A lot of the elders, they're even respected by the CEOs. Right. Because our elders are respectable people. Mm-hmm. They are principled people. They are not about the BS. You know what I'm saying? So quite naturally, they're getting the respect. And I look at my elders of the past. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I look at the elders, I'm saying, that made the ultimate sacrifice. And I try to understand what they went through, what type of hardships could I had withstand that test. Mm. You know, could I had made it this far? Because I was always told the only person die old is a slave. You know what I'm saying? So I thought maybe I was supposed to die young. Because the point is, they said, for us to live this long, we must have wasn't doing what we supposed to be doing. And me personally, I feel we always been doing what we supposed to be doing, because the point is, we giving our people a sense of what life is all about. You know what I'm saying? You know, we used to do cadence, and one of our cadence said, was Harriet Tubman still around, building railroads underground. You know, that's what we feel. Harriet Tubman is still around. You know what I'm saying? Her spirit still lives on. She was an elder. You know what I'm saying? Freddie Douglass, you know, he done a thing about the 4th of July. You know, in his spiel, he's saying the 4th of July is our nightmare. You know, while they celebrate their independence, we look at the 4th of July, that's our nightmare, because we still was held in bondage. Mm-hmm. You know, Freddie Douglass is one of our elders. He died of, he lived a long, prolonged life. So the point is, all of our elders are not slaves. Mm-hmm. You know, we can live a long, fruitful life and still be a part of the resistance. Freddie Douglass still lives. You know what I'm saying? We always say Marcus Garvey laid the line, revolution in our times. Mm-hmm. The spirit of Marcus Garvey still lives. Mm-hmm. He might not, physical presence might not be here no more, but the spirit lived. You know what I'm saying? He did not live to be in his 80s and 90s, but he lived to be of fruitful age. His spirit still lives. So our elders, you know, I pay tribute to my elders all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's them type of elders that I want to emulate. Mm-hmm. You know, now for those who died at the early age, you know, I understand that, hey, sometimes our sacrifices are made much more extreme and much more sooner. Mm-hmm. And sometimes our sacrifices are made at the end. But sacrifice is what we're all about. And we're going to always sacrifice for the best of our interest. So our elders, you know what I'm saying, you know, whether they're, you know, just a few years older than us or a few years younger than us, because I even use youngsters as being elders. Mm-hmm. You know, I can see a young brother like this brother right here. I say, check this out, bro. If one of your homeboys or one of your friends was to come here and he's 5 years younger than you, what is your responsibility to him? Mm-hmm. And his responsibility is to lift him up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? To educate him. Mm-hmm. I said, now, you know what that means? That means you are elder. You are elder. Mm-hmm. Because it is our elder responsibility to teach. You know what I'm saying? To uplift our people. So we can't just put an age on the word elder. You know, elders come in all forms. Mm. You know what I'm saying? So I praise all our elders. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Satsakura, you know what I'm saying? I love that sister. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, to me, Satsakura, you know, we say Satsakura strong and firm, liberation on her terms. You know, she didn't get freed because they chose to free her. I'm saying she freed, I'm saying, because the people freed her. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So now she's living in freedom in another country. But the point is, she's still uplifting people. So, you know, I look at her as being one of my she-roles. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because the sister is still active. She's still standing strong. So our elders, you know what I'm saying, you know, yes, a lot of them have passed away. But some of our elders are still with us. So what we should be doing right now is paying homage to them as well.